Well, welcome back to another episode of Gopher's Workshop. I'm your host, the Almighty Crit, or Aaron, and joining me, as always, as my fellow hosts, Chris.
Hello.
And Sky.
Hey there.
So today's episode, we were going to do Grotmas, but there's a lot of work to go into Grotmas, so we'll do it later. Today, however, we're going to do it. There's just a lot to go over. Well, this one we're going to do is a special one. We're going to be adding video to this one because we're going to be doing the Aeldari Codex review, much to Chris's excitement.
I'm so excited.
But don't worry, we're not new to video. We just got an upgrade. So if you go to the YouTube channel, it'll be in the show notes below. You can go check out all the old YouTube videos we did as well. Well, Chris and Sky did. I didn't do any of that. But without further ado, Chris, do you want to give us some Aeldari Codex reviewing nonsense?
I suppose. The easy parts, but before I get on my high jet bike. So the new codex effectively has 9 detachments. It's a lot. One of them is effectively mixing in Dark Eldar and giving them a bunch of benefits. It's actually a really cool one because it's like a give and take thing. Same with the Harlequin detachment. And then in this 9 is actually the Grotmas detachment as well, because that's a thing now. Which leaves you with a total of 6 detachments for actual Aeldari. The core mechanic, the faction mechanic, changed away from fate dice to all of our appreciation. It's now battle-focused tokens. It's still a resource pool that you have to track, but they're all movement related. So you get reactionary moves, you get bonus movement, things like that. Actually really good. Combined with their naturally high movement stat, it makes them, I'm going to argue, the fastest faction in the game. I'm not actually sure that's arguable, but I will not. Just for those who want to argue it. They're extremely fast.
And they're scary fast. It's scary fast.
Yes.
Like, why are you in my deployment zone turn 1 fast?
Because I can. There are other factions that can do it, but those other factions tend to have like specifically fast units, and that unit can make it across on turn 1. This faction, it's like half the codex can make it across on turn 1. And you don't want to, because they're absolutely paper mache. Holy cow. There's like 2 tough data sheets in the whole codex. It ain't great. But ignoring the avatar, they're all paper mache. It's crazy. This isn't necessarily a problem. We've seen other paper mache factions before. Orcs aren't necessarily that tough, with a few exceptions. Gene Stealer cults are very glass cannon. AdMech for quite a while were very glass cannon. Several of those factions, like all the ones I just listed, usually make up for that fact in the fact that they're kind of a horde faction, so they have plenty of models. Despite pulling models off at like a constant rate for orcs and gene stealer cults and things like that, you have enough models that you're not really worried about it. And that those models that are dying are low enough point value per model. Like Guard is a good example of, I killed 10 guardsmen and it's like, yeah, but that was like 40 points. Who cares? Whereas if you kill 10 Space Marines, well, now I feel bad about that because that's like 100 and something points. The problem with Eldar, in my personal opinion, at this time, and this is a fairly easy change, is that despite being paper mache, they're also pointed as a very elitist faction. So you don't have that horde thing going on. If you lose a model in Eldar, that is a real number of points you just lost. Like you're playing Marines or Custodes even is probably more accurate, which is crazy. Not great. Also, partially because of their extremely fast data sheets, also with the way some of their abilities are worded. For example, Farseers have an ability that if they can see an enemy unit within 18 inches during the shooting phase, they get to mark it. And depending on the type of Farseer you took, depends on the ability, whether it's +1 to hit against that thing or -1 to wound. There are a bunch of really cool abilities, but the whole codex is actively encouraging you to kind of churn the midfield with your units. And that is actively kind of rough because, again, paper mache. If you want to try to churn the middle, you do not have the staying power in order to actually do that like you would with Custodes, Marines. Even some monster factions like Tyranids can do that. This faction encourages you to do it, but it is not fun.
I've witnessed this. It's not the greatest.
Moving on slightly, we're Wraith units as a whole in this codex definitely got changed as a kind of sub-faction. Wraith, at least earlier in this edition, as well as some other editions, were kind of the main focus. They were where you found a lot of the toughness, as well as some of the good elite busting or tank busting, that sort of thing. They're usually expensive, but they were usually good enough to justify themselves. Now, they are still as expensive as they kind of always have been, at least per model. But there's all of them changed to weapon skill and ballistic skill 4+. This is the exception is the Wraith Knight itself, the Titanic unit. But for the purposes of this, most of the Wraith have changed to 4+ weapon skill and ballistic skill. I don't hate this. It's fine. Again, as long as they're pointed appropriately, none of this is really bad. So far, I should say. Continuing down, guard and blade units both got capped at 5 models instead of 5 to 10. This is a significant change because it changes the amount of buffing and debuffing you can do to Wraith, or at least the efficiency of it, I should say. There is a Wraith detachment. The Wraith detachment basically gives them a faction rule, which in itself is kind of funny. A way to nerf them is to, if you're playing them outside their specific detachment, they don't have a faction rule. Sure, I guess they're kind of Eldar. There are plenty of ways to buff them in the codex and kind of get them back to what they used to be. Spirit Seers being the example. Spirit Seers also changed to have like lone op, and they're no longer attached to units. I don't hate that. They're kind of like Tech Marines now. They can go around repair and things like that, but they also give out buffs. Instead of +1 to hit, they can give out sustained 1. Again, after the ballistic skill change, that's not ideal, but I don't hate it. The problem I have is with these units in general, they've gotten all these nerfs. I don't think their points have gone down to match, so they are objectively a lot of nerfs stacked on top of each other. But the Wraith Guard datasheet is incredibly frustrating. And I wish they would have had 2 different Guard datasheets, and that probably would have fixed a lot of it. But Wraith Guard are known for having 2 different distinct weapons. One is a flamethrower that used to be crazy and now is interesting but reasonable, or basically a short range like las cannon. Was also crazier before but became reasonable. Now is still fine, but again, hitting on 4s is a little rougher because it's one shot. But the thing that I hate about this, and I wish they would have broken up it into 2 different data sheets for the different weapons, is because this data sheet has 2 abilities on it. No complaints. One is kind of not that impressive. It's fine. The other is basically if a Psyker or a Spirit Seer, I forget, I want to say it's Spirit Seer, is close by, they can get +1 to hit. Well, this mitigates that ballistic skill nerf. Sounds good. The problem is, if I take the flamethrowers, I'm still the same 170 points for 5 models, and I basically lost one of my abilities. So now I'm paying for the same number of points. And like, there's a fair trade argument to Yeah, but you make it up for auto hitting and stuff like that, and that's fine. I'm not mad about that. But also, knowing the buffs that the Wraith could get, they lose access to almost all of them. Because now the Spirit Seer can't give them sustained hits because they never rolled a hit. They don't get the +1 to hit because they auto hit. Like the Farseer can't give them +1 to hit because again, they auto hit. So they lose access to basically half the characters that are in the Codex as far as buffs. And they lose one of their own abilities and their points are exactly the same. Fair and balanced.
That's broke. I'm just gonna call it out. That's broke.
I'm not necessarily mad about it. If they would have broken it up into 2 different data sheets, that's probably the best answer. What's kind of crazy to me is that in addition to this giant issue, in my opinion, there's these like subtle things of the Flamer used to be damage 2 and now it's damage 1. So like even the Flamer got nerfed on top of doing all these other changes to nerf the unit. And then while you're mitigating some of those by auto hitting instead of like taking the ballistic skill penalty, but is that really like enough considering all of the other buffs that you put in the thing to make them like more reasonable now that you can only take 5 models and you can't attach characters and things like that? Well, yeah, but same points. Crazy. I want to preface now before we continue anymore. I am going to be a little harsh on this whole codex. However, to be very clear, with the exception of Wraithguard, I'm going to basically say I'm not upset about any of the data sheets. There are several things I would like to be different. There are several things that I wish were different, but I'm not actually mad about the data sheets other than Wraithguard. I just wish the points made more sense. And that's a thing I want to make very clear. Because again, if I complain about Shining Spears or whatever else, while there may be an issue there, I'm not actually mad at the data sheet. They made them paper mache. They made them glass cannon. I'm not mad at that as a faction. I just need them to be appropriately pointed so that it doesn't feel bad when you're playing them.
I feel like it's another case of paying for the sins of the past.
And that's a fair argument.
Like they're just coming out super careful about pointing them.
Specifically to clarify for those who might not know, at the beginning of this edition, Eldar were so crazy. They were on top by a large margin, and then they got nerfed. And they still had the top spot by a reasonable margin. And they got nerfed a second time. And then a third time, and they finally like came into line with everybody else. It's in addition to that, in previous editions, again, for those who don't know, Eldar have always been at least reasonable, if not very good, across many editions. I don't know who's writing the rules for him, but whoever it is really likes Eldar and gets away with maybe a little too much sometimes. That being said, you're right. This codex specifically, I'm not even mad at the data sheets. They have plenty of cool keywords. They have plenty of neat abilities. But when I read the codex, or when I read the codex, I should say, I wasn't upset by it. I thought, they've got some cool stuff. Yeah, they're a little soft, no big deal. And then I built the list. And after I built several lists for several different detachments, I was like, yeah, maybe they're a little more elitist than I thought they were. But I kind of said, no, maybe it's okay. Again, they have a bunch of cool keywords. They have good synergy. And then I play tested stuff, multiple detachments. And game after game, I realized I don't have enough models. I'm way too soft for how few models I have. And there's an argument to that's my list building style. I totally hear you. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's someone out there who's deeper into this codex than I am at the moment, and they will find something that works. I'm still convinced there's a couple of detachments the internet's going to latch on to, and I don't think they're the best, but even when they do, when they find the best list in this codex, I'm going to say they're going to be acceptably competitive. But there are so limited options because of the way they're pointed. Having 9 detachments and effectively one of those detachments being competitively viable, not because of the detachment isn't good enough. There are several extremely good detachments, but because the pointing of those units, the detachment has to make up for a lot.
You heard it here, folks. GW needs to bring down the points.
Yes.
Spam Eldar. Hoard it.
All right. So, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to move on. So there are a few good examples here I have to kind of explain why it's not even that they're like the best or the worst. They're just oddly pointed. So Avatar of Cain, right now at current point value, isn't crazy, but I'm going to say he's an auto include in every list, regardless of detachment, because he is objectively the toughest model in the Codex. He's a lot of points, but he's objectively the toughest model, and you need that in this faction. There is not a lot of ways to hold the midfield well. So and when I was playtesting him, I also explained this to my opponent. He's basically a bad Satan. It's not that he is bad. It's that he is a little bit worse than Satan. And he's very similar, both in abilities and stat lines, things like that. He is much more mobile, which there's an argument to you're paying points for that already because he is basically the same price, but definitely not as tough. And the reason for that is he doesn't have a Feel No Pain. Yes, he has a 2-up armor. They don't. And while that's fair, the Feel No Pain having a second save instead of just a slightly better save is a world of difference. Not only in that you get to try to stop the damage twice, already huge, but it also helps mitigate certain things like mortal wounds and devastating wounds that the Avatar cannot do anything about. Still has damage. Again, this is the best example of why he's like a good comparison here. His points are effectively the same, but he, in addition to not being as tough because of that Feel No Pain, he gets 2 extra wounds. Definitely not enough, but let's say that's the same. One of the biggest differences is the fact that, like, for the same exact points, Necron Satan have a built-in regen mechanic. That's huge. They are already 2 wounds higher than their stats data sheet says, which means the Avatar isn't actually 2 more wounds. In addition to that, several of them, like the Void Dragon, for the exact same points, has not 1, but multiple regen mechanics, which means he's even more wounds than the Avatar by the end of the game. I have no idea how, if you're going to data sheet by data sheet compare Void Dragon to Avatar of Cain. I understand GW's total perspective on this is, but speed is key. Avatar gets there a turn earlier than the Void Dragon, which I don't actually think is true, but let's say it is. That speed is costing you a lot, especially when you consider, depending on your opponent's choices and depending on your choices for positioning, the Void Dragon or Nightbringer, even without the double recover mechanic, is still probably more wounds than the Avatar. He is nowhere near as tough. Same points.
How about their weapons?
Weapons, they're arguably pretty similar. The Void Dragon has way more dice as well as some real ranged, which means the Void Dragon is probably better in every way. However, the actual melee profile, there's an argument to the Avatar has less dice, but they are slightly better quality than the Void Dragon. As far as the Nightbringer is concerned, the Nightbringer has effectively the same kind of output in shooting, at least when you get to some averages. The melee, They're probably pretty similar if you're doing the strike profile, if you're doing the sweep profile. I kind of want to give a slight advantage to the Avatar. However, the Nightbringer has this giant aura of mortal wound chance, which is crazy. So immediately the Nightbringer goes back to equivalent, if not better than the Avatar's damage output.
Right.
So
are there any like good buffs to stack on the Avatar, like stratagems and stuff?
no.
Okay.
I want to say yes, but the short answer is kind of no.
I'm just like, the only saving grace I could see, is like, oh, well, maybe he gets a buff that the Catan don't.
The only thing that makes the Avatar crazy is his movement abilities, which is going to be the answer for this whole codex. You can spend battle focus tokens to give him reactionary moves after the opponent shoots at him. You can, if they fall back from him because he is crazy in melee, you can do a reactionary move. There are a bunch of ways to make him highly mobile. And I totally accept that we have to pay points for that because they are strong and they are good. I'm starting with arguably the toughest data sheet in their codex and comparing it to something that is on paper supposed to be pretty equivalent. Like, I mean, from GW's perspective, they've got to see these two things as the same on the table effectively. There's minor changes, but they pointed them the same. They've got close to similar damage outputs, close to similar abilities. I mean, even the Avatar's ability to give other things like +1 to their charge rolls. Well, that sounds really good. But when everything that he's telling to go get in the fight and overexpose themselves is paper mache, well, I hope you make that charge and I hope you kill enough, because if you don't, you're dead. And even if you do, you're still probably dead.
Right.
Well, I mean, I've fought into the Avatar Arcane twice now, and he hasn't killed much of anything. Again, mortal wounds, he doesn't have an answer to it. I killed him with jump axe, whatever.
Yep. And it's even when he stayed alive, barely. Like you got the charge on him, despite him being mobile because you knew not to shoot at him and things like that, right? But even when you didn't kill him and he got to swing back, he killed a little over half a jump pack unit.
Yep.
But also the unit's still alive. Like if you fall back and he gets a reactionary move either away or towards, you're just going to recharge. So that's bad. So if I reactionary move away, the answer is you're maybe you fail that charge, but the reactionary move is a random number of inches. So depending on what I roll, even if I go directly away from you, you're still within charge range, almost certainly.
Yep.
If you fall back way too far and then I reactionary move away and roll well, maybe I stop it then.
This reminds me of my issue with Gazgul. He's similarly pointed, but just not tough enough. Because there's no feel, no pain. And he doesn't reduce damage.
Yep. There is some trade-offs here that arguably make some amount of sense, right? Like Gazgul can take bodyguards, which effectively is attaching extra wounds. That costs you points. Don't get me wrong, that's rough. Well, you can put him inside transports to make him untargetable. But as much as all that's being said, when you were talking about extremely tough units that are costing over 250 points, a feel no pain goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
You're not wrong when you say Gazgul was weaker than you expected. Because the first time I faced Gazgul with your army, I was expecting far more out of him. It was still tough to kill him because of the bodyguards he had.
Well, the state of the game right now is not that many things have staying power. A lot of things have a decent alpha strike, right? If they're going to charge you and fight you and they fight first, they're going to hopefully kill some stuff pretty consistently. And then the next turn, your opponent's going to wipe them out. And the chances that you're going to be able to keep standing on an objective for more than one battle round, it's really hard at this point in the game. There's not that many units that are tough enough to do it. some custodes units, and that's it. If your opponent has assets, they can kill pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
That is mostly true, and that is a great example because since custodes have several units that actually have the staying power, despite being infantry and things like that, to no one's surprise, currently they're kind of on top right now. They have the best win rate according to several internet sources at this time. Like the staying power is part of why they're winning. It's not even their damage output, which isn't bad, but like staying power means a lot.
Plus, you can pack the army in a lunchbox.
Well, also that. The Emperor's lunchbox.
Yeah.
Emperor protects.
Okay, so there's some other examples here as we kind of continue down this rabbit hole of what is the same but different.
Yeah, how about some vehicles?
Yep. I love this comparison. And by love it, I hate it. But also, it's so apt. I know we're sticking on Necrons. Partially, this is because I know Necrons really well. But also, it's just a good example. They're both toughness 9. They both have a 3-up save. The Doomsday Arc has a 4-up invul. Kind of crazy. But their ability is tank busting, right? The difference between them is the Fire Prism has only 2 shots, and it gets rerolls kind of like the Gladiator Lancer. It is extremely consistent. We love that. Doomsday Arc has a random number of dice. Doesn't have as many rerolls. You have some ways to give it some benefits, like standing still gives you heavy. Standing still also gives you dev wounds, which is crazy. But it doesn't have a random amount of damage. The nice consistent damage makes it way better at elite busting things like other Wraiths or Centurion Devastators or Thunderwolf Cavalry, stuff like that. Terminators. But it's like minimum number of shots is equivalent to the number of shots that the Fire Prism gets. So while it is less consistent in certain areas, like number of shots, the fact that it's D6 plus 1 blast means that it is always at a minimum getting the same number of shots as the Fire Prism. While the Fire Prism has rerolls, to hit and wound, while it has this way higher damage potential, it also has a much lower damage floor. Again, things are relatively equivalent here. But we get to the toughness, and that's where it's crazy. 4-up invul Doomsday Arc, no invul on the Fire Prism. Okay, arguably that's not a big problem. Why? Because the Fire Prism has a neat trick to like shoot around corners. As long as one of them is exposed, the other one can use the first one that is exposed as line of sight, as long as it can also see it. There's ways to protect this. Okay, let's call that a fair trade for the invul thing, even though it has drawbacks of now you only get 1 die per tank at 160 points instead of 2. Again, we want to pretend that's equivalent, even though it's not. Well, Doomsday Arc as a Necron also still means your faction rule exists. You get to regen wounds every turn, and with a 4-up invul, you are likely to actually get that at least once, if not multiple times. This is on a model that has more wounds than the Fire Prism. Crazy. On top of that, we go to the other side of things, the Fire Prism. It has a faction rule. Well, a faction rule is mobility tricks, and while you could use them, you're softer. You're trying to stay defensive. You're trying to stay in the back. You've got this long-range gun. You don't want to use all those mobility tricks. And even when you do use those mobility tricks, because it makes sense to do, given like the board state or you're late in the game, you need to go grab that objective. Well, those mobility tricks mean that you get to go do a thing and then die afterwards because you're still paper mache.
Didn't both of these units used to have the old void shields?
Short answer is no. The Fire Prism never had Serpent Shields or anything like that. That was just on the Wave Serpent. Fire Prism used to be a little tougher than it is now, but that's, again, not a bad thing. I'm totally fine with that. Its job is a tank bust. You're paying points for tank busting, not for toughness. I don't want to be upset about that. But for only 30 points, I would, any tank in the game, like Fire Prism or not, I would absolutely spend 30 points to gain some wounds, gain an invul, gain a regen mechanic.
Gain 2 toughness.
Yeah, well, no, they're the same toughness, but gaining, yes, I do believe so. But that's okay. Like I said, you're still gaining the invul, you're still gaining wounds, you're gaining a regen mechanic, and this is all on top of you're paying points for mobility. Well, you've got 4 extra inches of move. Well, that's great, but how often do I want to use that? I don't. Well, you have these abilities to do different movement shenanigans and go faster and like reposition and things like that. Well, that sounds good, but I like already hid 2 of my 3 Fire Prisms to where you can't see them, which means they haven't used the extra move, as well as can't even use the reactionary moves if they wanted to. And that was after giving up like 1 of my 2 shots. 30 points is doing holy cow an amount of work here. And there's no way that all of that is included in the 30 points, right? Objectively, the Fire Prism is just too many points.
So
go ahead.
When I was putting this slide together, I was looking at this, like the Fire Prism. And comparably for me, it's like a Gladiator Lancer mixed with a Ball Predator. Or a Rhino even. It's got some cool tricks. It's not very tough. It's the same toughness as a Rhino. It's T9.
Yep.
And it has literally the Gladiator Lancer's ability to reroll a wound and reroll a hit.
Yes.
You can't reroll the damage. So that's different. But I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, okay, for something to be as tough as the Ball Pred and arguably a little faster, but not by much, why is this thing 160 points when the Ball Predator is only 135? That is the exact thing while making the slide. I was thinking, why is this a thing?
There's a bunch of different vehicles that you could compare the Fire Prism to. We could compare it to the Gladiator Lancer. Turns out is also exactly 160 points and has more toughness. I mean, that's like all it has on it. But again, has more toughness and also a faction rule that applies to it. It has like stratagems that are allowed to target it, which the Fire Prism does, but it depends on the detachment sort of thing. So like that's only kind of true. Whereas in Space Marines, like absolutely every detachment has Armor of Contempt. So there's a way to make the Gladiator tougher.
I still find not having an invul sort of the strangest part. I think it's overcosted, but it's like not even like a 6-up invul, just none.
There's an argument to it. 3-up armor, you could give it a 6-up invul, but that's so rare that you're actually going to get to use the thing.
But like even the jankiest, even like a battle wagon has a 6-up invul.
You're right, but
and it's
as
like
much
duct
as that's
taped
true,
together. It's not like they have a shield, even if it's a crappy one, and it's not going to come up very often. Like if invuls are representing shields, I know this has something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a good one. I'm just saying that like.
I hear you. And thematically, that's probably true. Like as far as I'm going to say competitively, but as far as just general rules on the tabletop, I don't know that I want to give it a 6-up invul only because I already think it's overcosted. If you're going to give me a 6-up invul, you're going to like, no, but I made you tougher. That's going to cost you some points. And I don't want to pay for a 6-up invul because the invul, again, at 3-up armor, I'm going to use it so rarely that by the time that the invul comes into play, I'm probably failing that save anyway. And I didn't want to pay for it. I would rather just be cheaper and take the damage.
See,
I don't think a competitive thing.
Yes. So I don't think it's worth the points. But what I would want to see, if you're not going to change the points, if they're not going, they will change the points. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully one day. But if they weren't going to change the points, I would want to see it have a 6-up invul, which is not worth the 30 points difference. and then like something like a -1 to hit or something. Because the whole point of Aeldar's design is that they're not the toughest, but it's hard to get the wound through in the first place. That's like how they make up for the lack of toughness generally.
And that has been true in the past. There's a definitely lack of that in this codex. A thing that was pointed out to me by someone else is, okay, so let me rephrase. In this current codex, there's very little re-rolling to hit. This is an example of one of like 3 data sheets that actually gets to re-roll to hit. Feels pretty good. But in the past, again, they used to be crazier. In the past, there used to be way more re-rolls to hit. And this is all in addition to the pluses to hit and the minuses to hit that they used to have that made them tougher. So in general, they've gotten kind of a nerf across the board, which no one is mad about. The nerf is arguably reasonable because, again, they were absolutely crazy at the beginning of the edition. They have been crazy in multiple other editions. No one is mad about GW trying to find a balance for this faction and these data sheets by nerfing them in some way. No one's upset about the Fort Blisky skill to Wraith. As long as they're appropriately pointed, we're all okay with it. All of this griping that I'm doing is more me clarifying we didn't get the points right. It's not that we didn't get the data sheets right. It's not that anyone's mad about here's what the like abilities are on the Fire Prism or the whatever else. Most of this I'm okay with. As much as I may prefer it to be different, I'm not mad about it, except for Wraithguard. But as much as all that's true, we didn't hit the mark for points. And this is why Eldar, no changes to data sheets, are going to be competitively viable at some point. But right as the Codex releases, I don't think that's true, which is a little surprising because most factions, not all, most factions are most competitive when they first get released because their points are a little too low or something like that. They're like the new kits come out, so they're a little pushed, which is still arguably true for the faction now. All the Phoenix Lords are a little pushed right now, and that's probably one of your best options competitively. But when you get a new model kit, we all kind of know, well, when it releases, it's going to be like 10 or 15 points under cost because they're trying to push it. All right, moving on. One more comparison, and I'm trying to hit different facets of this codex so that you can understand that it's kind of broad strokes here. So like I picked their toughest unit with the Avatar. I picked a vehicle with the Fire Prism. It's also tank busting. Then we're going to go to Shining Spears. So this is one of their mounted units. It's a melee unit, and it is elite busting. Arguably, it can kind of do it all. It's one of my favorite data sheets in the codex until you look at points. It's my favorite for sure.
They're
However,
nasty.
They are, and they should be, but they are still arguably they're surprisingly balanced in that they like have crazy keywords on their melee, which we'll get to in a second, but they like lack the number of dice to make those keywords like super scary. Anywho, we're going to compare Shining Spears to Sanguinary Guard, and the comparisons are hilariously accurate. So they are 10 points cheaper for 3 models. Okay. For that, they are holy cow less tough. So for 10 more points, or 10 less points, I should say, my armor gets reduced from 2 to 3. My invul gets reduced from 4 to 5, except for the sergeant, but that's 1 model out of the 3. And then I become infinitely more mobile than the Sanguinary Guard, which are already pretty mobile. Happy with that. This is hilarious to me. The Sanguinary Guard have multiple abilities that make them tougher, right? You put a character in there, which this Shining Spears can't do right now at all, period. They got rid of that, funny enough. And having a character, not only is that character going to give them some amount of benefits, but also it makes the whole unit tougher with -1 to hit and wound. pretty solid. Shining Spears, what is their ability? They have a whole brick of text that says, treat them as if infantry. The keyword that you effectively get for free, arguably, on Sanguinary Guard is my whole ability. Moving on.
That's so funny.
You're right. And like, while we're looking at the stat lines here, it's funny too, because you can make an argument for like, oh, but they're OC2 instead of OC1. Well, it's like, yeah, but free upgrades. So Sanguinary Banner, the Sanguinary Guard are also OC2. So
Yep.
they like, there's no way the Shining Spears can ever hold the midfield like the Sanguinary Guard. And arguably, neither of them are actually supposed to hold the midfield. They're supposed to go do damage.
Yeah, the Shining Spears upgrade is one guy gets an invul. That's
Correct.
All, the whole Sanguinary Guard already has.
You're right.
Yep.
And it's funny too, because the one guy that gets the 4-up invul, so arguably he's similar to a Sanguinary Guard model, is also the only model in the unit that gets 3 wounds, making him again closer to a Sanguinary Guard model, but the rest of the unit has less wounds per model. That
Also,
10
the rest,
points. Yeah,
the rest are 2 wounds. Oh my gosh.
Again, 10 point difference. Crazy. So going to the actual melee profile, I'm going to say the spears because not only is it on the Sanguinary Guard, not only because it's a more apt comparison between the two, but also it's kind of the one that I think they're going to choose most of the time, depending on what it is you're doing, but most of the time. So both of them have lance, both of them have a very good stat line of strength 6, AP 2, 2 damage, hitting on 3s. They both have 3 attacks apiece. Keynote here, lack of dice. But the Shining Spears, they gain anti-monster and anti-vehicle 3+. That's huge. All they have to give up is 1 strength. That's, again, hilariously good. Shining Spears should be amazing in combat. But with the lack of dice, you know what Sanguinary Guard don't have? A lack of dice. Because you have 1 detachment where you get to add strength on top of the lance, add numbers of attacks. You have multiple detachments that allow them to fall back and charge. You have the ability to give them rerolls with Oath. You have a bunch of stuff here, right? And the only thing you can do with Shining Spears, for the most part, is you can mess with their mobility. That's it. But they are so less tough that by the time you mess with their mobility, you can only mess with their ability in a positive way. As far as like aggressively, you can't, their defensive abilities to like reactionary move. Well, they're so soft that by the time you reactionary moved, half the unit already died. So who cares? It's crazy for what you get for 10 points. Again, the Sergeant gets a slightly better weapon, but basically you're just adding an AP. Hooray. It adds an extra attack. Again, desperately needed, but it's only on 1 model. And since he's 3 wounds, competitively, what's kind of funny is you end up killing the Sergeant first, because a lot of times you're being shot at with either good AP, which means you want to use that 4-up invul early to keep more models alive, or you're being shot at with 1 and 2 damage weapons, which again makes it less efficient against the Sergeant since he has 3 wounds. Exarch almost always dies first. So that extra attack die doesn't even show up unless you like pop out from behind a building and you get the charge first. It's pretty rough. Both of these units, obviously, you're going to realistically take 6 models, not 3, which means you're doubling the point cost here. So it's 240 points for a unit that goes out, hopefully kills a unit, but with the lack of dice, it kind of depends as to what your target is. And then you're still paying like an eighth of your list for a unit that has very little in the way of giving them buffs. There's one of the detachments that I play tested was the bike detachment, where you have a bunch of stratagems that can target mounted units. They're mounted units. This sounds great. even in that detachment where I'm trying to make my favorite data sheet as good as possible, the stratagems are not very helpful. I can spend a whole CP to give the mounted unit a 4-up invol. Well, the sergeant already has one. And then I'm upgrading for the cost of a CP, a very finite resource, taking them from a 5-up invol to a 4-up invol. And while that might be worth it sometimes, that is a big resource cost that you're asking for to get a pretty minor increase in durability, because they're still toughness 4. They're still only 2 wounds apiece, which means you're going to have to be rolling a ton of saves. Crazy. As far as damage output, they have like a in melee give something twin linked. That sounds pretty good. Matter of fact, it's kind of crazy good. But even that stratagem can only be used after they come out of reserves, which means they have to make the 9-inch charge before you're even allowed to use it. Again, with finite CP resources, we're talking about coming in, probably needing to spend a CP in order to like re-roll the charge, because 9 is not easy. And then now that you've spent a CP on re-rolling the charge to consistently get there, which is like still only a 50% chance. Well, now that you're there, you have to spend another CP to give them twin linked. And that twin linked is only so effective because they only have 3 attacks per model. You're not affecting a ton of dice. This is...
It's...
Yes.
It's not great. It's not great.
It's so bad.
Like, you don't even play the faction and you can hear the frustration in your voice, right? Like, all of this stuff is good on the data sheet.
Yes.
If you don't look at the points, I have no complaints. The Shining Spears are amazing. I love them.
Great.
And then you find out their points and but they're 40 points a model.
Yeah.
There are Custodes models that arguably do a similar amount of damage. They are way tougher, admittedly way less mobile, and they are still less than 40 points a model.
I bet it feels really bad to have them do actions for how many points they cost.
You're right.
This is why he's never done it.
You're right. And like, again, Eldar as a whole are overcosted right now, so they feel like an elitist faction. Mm-hmm. So I absolutely lack action units. There are some exceptions with like Spirit Seers, right? Like it's a unit that can get blown up if it's within, 3 inches of a Wraith unit. And now it feels like it's doing its job buffing things and it gets to do actions and it feels great. But it's having to buff units as like a tax because they all got nerfed. And even some of the ones that he's trying to buff can't receive the benefit. And they're still not cheap. Like Wraith Knights basically didn't receive much in the way of nerfs because they were already Titanic and Towering, which have gotten nerfed in the past. They're still 3-up to hit, which is great. They don't get to reactionary moves, so they do have a nerf to their core faction rule. But that's fine, because if you didn't take the Wraith detachment, they didn't get a faction rule in the first place. Yeah. And you know how many points they are? They're like 420 or 435. They are the same cost as a Primarch. And they are not doing Primarch level damage, and they are not Primarch level tough. Like, crazy.
Speak for yourself. I'm just glad the Eldar are getting treated like all the other Xenos finally.
And again, I'm not mad at that, right? If we become paper thin, with the exception of like Wraith Knights, which are crazy expensive, and the Avatar of Cain, which is epic, so you only get one, then that's fine. I just need enough models to play the game.
Yeah, but you're not a real faction. You're just, Op 4 for the Space Marine players.
Yep.
You're right.
You're right. And I totally forgot to mention that. When it comes to the Avatar of Cain, he's epic. So you can only take one of him. If you were playing Necrons, you could spam up to 6 of them? Yeah. I'm not saying you should. They're expensive now because of that. But even at their exactly similar point cost of 300 is kind of the average answer. You only get one. You're only allowed one, period. That's your toughness for your list. with Necrons, I could have anywhere between 1 and 6. Where's my toughness? You're not allowed. And again, I'm fine with not being allowed to have toughness, but then I have to have enough volume of model to still be able to play the game.
And therein lies the lesson to be learned here today, dear listener. Where's my toughness?
Again, you don't need toughness if you have volume of model, but I don't have that. So I'm looking for one or the other. And the easiest answer here is like we could go and change data sheets, and that would only be frustrating for everyone because I just bought this codex. You're really telling me that I can't even look at the data sheets anymore? The easiest answer and the best answer at this point is just to adjust point cost.
Yeah.
And they will do it. The question is, how long does it take for them to do it? And when they do they do it appropriately? I still think there's a couple of data sheets that are going to go up in cost despite not being this faction being too expensive. Because again, they always underpoint the Phoenix Lords. Right now, several of the Phoenix Lords are kind of nuts. I absolutely understand that it's a new model kit. We undercosted them in order to sell the kit. I'm not mad at it. When GW's made a pattern, we accept this. Some of the Phoenix Lords are going to go up in points. But the whole rest of the codex is in a rough place. Not one, but like at least half of the data sheets probably need to go down in points.
Well, you heard it here. You heard it here.
Are you
heard it
okay?
here, folks. I know. I'm pretty sure my brain broke from all the terrible Aeldari. Points need to go down is the answer. There you go.
Yep.
Is it mid-break time?
I think it's mid-breaky time. Chris, you got anything else to talk about with the Aeldari Codex?
I could go on for days. I tell you what, we'll do a mid-break. I'll do a short little playtest story when we get back, and then Sky can make us all feel better with hobby stuff as we cry over our codex and its point cost.
Oh, hobby stuff.
Oh.
Am I just jumping straight to hobby stuff?
We're going to a mid-break. Welcome to the mid-break. This is the part of the show where we thank our patrons, but we don't have any. And Sky's still begging for someone to patron him. Patronize? Patronize.
Patronize me.
We'll also thank our listeners here and read out some reviews. We ain't got those either. That's okay. We'll get them. We're getting there.
Well, it'll be all right.
And on other news, this is also part of the show where we're going to drop new info drops and new, pre-order that are releasing and things. We're going to drop all that info for you here. But we this is pre-recorded, so we got nothing for you this time. But you know what we do have? We have a lovely sponsor. Chris, who's our sponsor?
It's the Gopher.
It's us.
We're doing several of these recordings early and kind of releasing them at the same time. So there's a lot of missing stuff here, but those will come as we start actually releasing a lot of the stuff. In the meantime, Gopher Games is the place to get your gaming supplies and minis. All our GW product is 15% off all the time, even our pre-orders. So if you see something cool on Warhammer Community and you want to pick it up before it's even released, you can get it through us. We ship anywhere in the US, as well as territories. And if you need us to ship somewhere else, contact us. We've done that in the past. But it's 15% off all the time.
Every day, all the time. Pew pew. We also have cards and other games and board games and all kinds. It's where you go for games. Sky, do the thing.
Oh. We also have paints and stuff, hobby stuff. Speaking of hobby stuff, I guess I got to give a hobby update on what I've been doing.
Not yet.
Why not?
Because it's not the end of the mid-break.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
I'll tell you. We're going to end the mid-break. All right, here we are, back from the mid-break. Sky, now you can give us a hobby update.
I don't know if I want to talk about the hobby stuff now.
You were excited before.
I already tried to talk about it in the mid-break and every wrong place at least 4 times.
You must, whatever you're working on, you must be pretty excited about.
I mean, I already finished working on it, so. So what is it, this last week? Whatever week this is, just use your imagination. I painted my 3rd Gilliman commission paint for Dalton. It was fun. It took me like 6 hours from like primed blue to done. It's not perfect, but yeah, I used some of the Pro Acryl paints, just a couple of them for like the blue and the reds on the sword. It was a good time. If you find our Discord, if you're brave and you go spelunking in all our socials, you'll find pictures of it.
They don't have to go spelunking. It's in the show notes.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
well, I mean, maybe not the specific pictures of the Gilliman, unless you put them there. But
he did.
Oh, you did? Okay, that's good.
Dalton did. And also, he even got a good picture showing off your little custom piece just for him.
Oh, he did? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I put his name on Gilliman's leg because there's a little banner there that's blank on his like on his little shin guard thing.
So it's the first Gilliman ever to honor the Dalton name.
Yeah. Anyway, that's.
Oh my God, it is. I'm looking at it right now. Holy crap.
You didn't see that before?
No.
I also feel that I'm the only person in the store who actually puts the little lines on all the purity seals. Everyone else just washes them and just leaves them. They're just toilet paper.
Yeah, 100%.
You say that it wasn't perfect and that you only spent 6 hours, but you are an extremely fast painter. This is still, I'm telling you right now, like above average quality by like a good number.
Oh yeah, I didn't do the eyes. The part of the backpack between Gilliman and like his back and the backpack, I didn't really paint. That whole thing is supposed to be gold, but I just kind of decided I'll just draw a line where it turns blue. It's fine. Obviously, it's not noticeable unless you're really looking for it. But yeah, whatever. It was fun. It was fun.
The professional complaining about not perfect, the rest of us not seeing any of it.
Hey, I was raised on Reddit comments for my miniature painting. So like my standards are already like, guess what? You're already shit.
You're already shit.
So I think I'm already super critical anyway. Anyway, I'm probably going to do some work on my Gene Stealer Cult stuff because I'm still hammering out the scheme with that. I have like a pale blue I'm doing for all the robes. I'm really trying to avoid making it all denim as much as the Gene Stealer joke is hilarious. It's really hard to fit with like the other 4 types of material that make up a Gene Stealer cult person. Because you got like the human thing, and you got the weird like astronaut minor thing going on, and then some of it's turning purple, and some of it's got like carapace on it. So you got to pick colors for all those that actually look okay next to each other. I would argue that Gene Stealer Cults is one of the more complicated ones to do right.
You know, I listen to these conversations about Sky's paintings, and I think back and I go, you know what? White isn't that bad.
It's not. It really isn't. It's like
compared to everything else you do.
It's a hard material to work with, but it's not. It's really not that bad. You do a couple extra layers and you calm down. That's it.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I thought we would play a fun game for the Eldar stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I figured it's not really a game, but it'll be like let's play Is It Eldar? And it's a game about where the cosmic horror ends and the oddly possible truths can exist in the grimdark universe. So I have some theories here. I think the Death Star is just a Drukhari craft world.
Oh my god.
Do you agree?
This is how we're starting. How we're starting.
Do you agree or disagree?
Well, craft worlds are in fact effectively spaceships at this point. So yes, it's true.
Okay.
I don't like it, but it's true.
Okay, my next one. Do you guys remember a little 2001 movie about Atlantis made by Disney?
Yes.
Do you recall that? You know?
Yep.
They had the bomb guy.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure that those Atlanteans are actually Eldar. They all have little spirit stones. They literally like put themselves in them to power stuff. They have jet bikes. They have jet bikes. They have shields.
You know,
Can
I get an argument against, please?
40K has been around for a long time. And while no one admits to it, there are a ton of like direct and indirect references to nerddom back when being a nerd was arguably less cool. The obvious, like, for those who don't know, the very obvious thing is StarCraft was going to be a 40K game and then licensing fell through. So they slightly redid some stuff and then still put it out. So there's a ton of like, you know, they kind of got like a Tau aesthetic and those guys kind of have a Marine aesthetic. It's not quite right, but it's close enough. The idea that there was some Disney like animator who was like really into 40K and was just like, you know, I got to draw some stuff for work. God, I really want to play 40K right now. I'll just draw 40K. I mean, legally distinct 40K.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's the Eldar from the equator. Like, that's all it is.
Oh my God.
Okay. I need you guys to rank these in order.
Oh, no.
Who would you date first? So
I hate it.
I already hate it.
Drukhari, Craftworld, Harlequin, or Exodite?
Exodite has to be first because dinosaurs would be fucking cool.
We had a whole conversation about it before this episode was recorded.
No, the dinosaurs
Dino
are
nuggies.
Yeah, unlimited dino nuggies at the Exodite camp. Okay, what's number 2?
God, you're gonna make me do the whole thing. My dating history would indicate that I have to say Harlequin's next because I dated some clowns.
What about you, Aaron? What's your number 2?
Oh God, you're making me really think about this. Because
I'm not thinking. I refuse.
It's too real.
God, we're gonna go with the ones that are the least likely to hurt me because I don't deal well with pain.
I don't really know which one that is, but
well, it's not Drukhari.
Yeah, not Drukhari.
Exactly.
So Harlequin or Craftworld? Probably Craftworld.
I'll probably go with Craftworld first, and then we'll go dinos. We'll go dinosaurs.
Okay, so what's your third to last pick, Olsen? What do you got? You picked Exodite, and then you picked Harlequin. So now you have Drukhari and Craftworld to pick from.
I'm gonna have to say Craftworld, and I say that because, like, in my 40K playing, I am like an anti-heresy player. I very much like the Loyalist factions. I dabble in some of the Xenos factions, but Drukhari are basically the Xeno version of Chaos. They're very spiky. They're very, we don't care, murder, torture, whatever. So for the Emperor, I guess, or the Craft World, I'm going to say Aeldari. Okay,
so before you make your decision, Aaron, I just want to say this. you have Drukhari and Harlequin to choose from for the last two. The Harlequin will cheat on you for fun, and the Drukhari will cheat on you because it hurts you. Which one do you pick?
Can't I just purge them? Xenos
I mean, yeah, but you have to purge
with
one of them.
flamers.
One of them last. We're ranking them. Come on.
God, I guess I'll pick Harlequin, and then we'll make Drukhari last. And it last doesn't even feel right. Like, we should make them like infinitely last. Like, that's never gonna happen.
Just Death Watch redacted.
Done.
So
Exterminatus.
So moving on to the last bits here. There's some theory that Eldar poop rocks.
It's crystals. But yes.
Crystals are rocks. What are you talking about?
You're right.
Oh my God.
Does that make Eldar like a geode? And you crack it open and there's a crystal inside?
Why do you think Space Marines enjoy fighting them so much?
Oh, they're pretty rocks.
You know what? I take that back. Maybe they don't like fighting them because they're just rocks inside. So it's like, every time I fight them, I have to resharpen my chainsword. I hate this. It's just extra maintenance.
It's just extra.
Yeah. So how about the fact that the Eldar created Slaanesh? Just throwing that out there because I'm pretty sure that the way she was created is they were just polishing too many spirit stones at the same time.
Is that what we're calling it these days?
That's what I'm calling it for the podcast.
You know, okay.
But let me finish. Okay, so they created Slaanesh, which they call her She Who Thirsts, and she like absorbs their souls or whatever.
Yeah.
She's basically like an ethereal succubus, but whatever. The thing that I find funny is that she's never satisfied. So she's basically just your disappointed girlfriend manifested as an evil god.
Oh man. Now I'm okay with it.
Yep.
I'm just saying. Next time you're fighting,
disappointing her. It's fine.
Now when you're fighting Slaanesh, you have motivation.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got. I
so
tried to get
bad comments.
Some Eldari, relevant stuff. Yeah, it could be boyfriend too. To be fair, you can have a disappointed boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, Slaanesh is.
I mean, if you look at the models, it just depends. Is it the left side or the right side of the model? Because they're not the same.
No, they're not. It's very confusing lore.
I'm pretty
sure. Understand it.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure all the Daemonettes are left-handed, but they don't tell you about that.
God, I need to look. Are all the female parts always on the left side? Is that a Beyonce reference?
It can be if you want.
Is Slaanesh gonna come out singing "Single Ladies"? I want this to happen now. I want it to happen.
Anyway, that's all I got.
God.
All right.
My God.
Okay, so I guess I promised a playtest story.
Story time.
Okay, so first off, I hate it. Secondly, I want to tell you about how I got everything I wanted and was still disappointed, much like Slaanesh. So I played a game against Custodes with the old Eldar, and I was playing the bike list. I got to go first. I played very defensively. Turn 2, the world was my little oyster. I came in from, I did some movement shenanigans because that's what Eldar do. I made 4 charges, I think it was. Counting 1, 2. Yeah, I made 4 charges. And one of them was from Deep Strike, so it was a full 9-inch charge. Made it on the first roll, so I didn't even have to spend a CP. I had everything I could want. Avatar charged a vehicle. The Solitaire got to charge a unit with a character. It was awesome. I killed so few Custodes. It was really disappointing.
There it is.
Shining Spears charge a unit of Wardens. I got to spend the CP on re-rolling to wound because I didn't have to spend the CP on re-rolling charge. I killed like 2 Custodes. It's like 2 and a fraction out of 5 plus a character. It was extra sad. The Solitaire totally rolled average, which I'm not mad about. It was even on the turn where I got to pop the once per game extra attacks. Didn't kill a Blade Warden because his unit just absolutely made it impossible. It was extra sad. He just rolled slightly high on saves by like 1, but it was enough to keep him alive. The Avatar flubbed his dice, rolled 6 ones to hit, felt bad, but almost killed the tank. I got him down to literally 2 wounds and then stared at him.
Now what?
Yep, I had everything I wanted. Despite having an overcosted faction, I played the best I possibly could, and the Custode stared at me and it's like, that's not good enough. Try again. Yeah, that's my sad story of bitching about him. That being said, again, I know I've been hard on the Eldar this whole episode, but again, I'm actually very happy with the data sheets. I'm very happy with the detachments. There's like 3 different detachments that I am extremely excited to play after points adjustments. I think the bike detachment is surprisingly good. I'm a big fan of the Wraith detachment, despite all their nerfs. Having a whole detachment to give them back their faction ability so that they're a real unit again. I was super happy to play that detachment. I think there's actually a detachment that could make a Horde Eldar list good. We don't have Horde available right now, but when we do, it's going to be awesome. I'm actually super excited for the Codex in 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months. It's like you ground shipped that from China.
It's not great.
I'm going to get my Codex in 3 to 6 months.
There's one Guardian that's walking on the bottom of the ocean, just slowly trudging along. And when he brings me my points updates, I'm going to be so excited.
He's probably from Atlantis.
Right.
Oh, God. Well, I think that's it for our episode. Thank you all for listening. Next week, are we doing Grotmas? Chris, we doing Grotmas next week? We're doing Grotmas.
Do the Grotmas next week.
We're going to do Grot. But otherwise, yeah, thank you all for listening. Tune in next week. Hey, everybody, it's Aaron. I want to thank you again for tuning in for this episode of Gopher's Workshop with us, hanging out and listening. Remember, leave a 5-star review. Let us know what you think. And if you feel like supporting us, you can always go to Patreon in the show notes below. Thanks. Till next time.